Okay, so the next one we're going to do is open up Unit 2, Lesson 4, Practice Problems. So the first problem that we have a ceiling made of tiles, and it tells us that every square meter of the ceiling requires 10.75 tiles. And it says to fill in the table. Okay, so easy enough. This first one, we know it tells us right here, 1 square meter is 10.75 tiles. So we know anytime we go from left to right, we're multiplying, and the constant of proportionality always has a 1 in this spot. So 1 times 10.75 is what's going to give us the answers here. So for the next one, we've got 10 times 10.75. So we know when we multiply by 10, all we do is, because there's 1 0, we move the decimal 1 place. So that means the answer will be 107.5. So that's an easy one. Well, they're all easy. We're going to skip this next one for now because we know we're going in the opposite direction. So we're on a roll, multiplying, going left to right. So A is the number of square meters of ceiling. Well, we know we're multiplying times 10.75. So that means we have 10.75A as our answer. Remember, when there's a number next to a variable, it means that they are multiplied. Now, we know that when we're going in the opposite direction from right to left, it means we're going to divide by that number. In this case, it's 10.75. So we've got 100 divided by 10.75. Now, this is not, when we start with the 100, we're not counting zeros or counting places, because that's not what we're dividing by. So this one, quite honestly, I'd say pull out your calculator to get the answer here of 10 divided by 10.75, and you should get an answer of 9.3. So there we go. Our chart is filled. Next problem. We're going on a flight from New York to London. Oh, that sounds fun. This airplane travels at a constant speed. An equation relating to the distance traveled in miles d to the number of hours flying t equals 1 over 500 d. Well, actually, let me move that up. The d should be actually right next to it. How long will it take the airplane to travel 800 miles? So we know that the distance is d. We're just simply substituting in. We're given that d is equal to 800. So we know that t is going to equal 1 over 500 times 800. Well, this is no different than we've done before. We can put that right over 1. We know we keep the top with the top and the bottom with the bottom. So that's 800 over 500. We cancel out those zeros. We're left with 8/5. And I'm going to reduce that because 5 is too little to hold up that big giant 8. So 5 goes into 8 one time with 3 left over, and the 5 remains the same. So the answer to how long will it take to travel 800 miles is 1 3/5 hours. Now, just so that no one gets confused, you're not going to get from New York to London in 1 3/5 hours. It will take longer than that. Each table represents a proportional relationship. For each, find the constant of proportionality and then write the equation. Okay, well, we know that the constant of proportionality is whatever number we need to go from left to right, and we multiply going from left to right. So, and if we don't know what we're multiplying by, we would divide in the other direction. So 2 times what equals 8? Well, that, of course, is times 4. I'm sure you all knew that. 3 times 4 equals 12. 5 times 4 equals 20. And 10 times 4 equals 40. So there's our constant of proportionality. It is 4. And then the equation. Now, I know sometimes it seems daunting how to find the equation, but really it's P, which is what our second column is. And how do we get from S to P? Well, we multiply it times 4. So that means P equals 4S. Because remember, a number next to a variable means to multiply. Now, we're going to use the same exact process for the next one. It might seem a little bit more confusing because we've got decimals here, but really, no worries, because this is easy. They didn't give us the 1, so we have to figure out how do we get from 2 to 6.28. What do we multiply by? Well, if we don't know that, what to multiply by, we know that to go in this direction, we divide. So we could go 6.28 divided by 2. Now, I know that's not a fraction that we're used to seeing, but this is how we can represent division. So I say 6 divided by 2 is 3. Put my decimal in there. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. So if this holds true, that means any other one of these, if I multiply times 3.14, it should give me the answer on the right side. So the easiest one I'm going to go to is that 10. 10 times 3.14. Well, there we are, multiplying by 10. I know whenever I multiply by 10, I move the decimal one place. So here's my decimal. I move it one place. That's going to be 31.4. And look at that. There it is. So that means that my constant of proportionality is 3.14. Oh goodness, I made a mistake here. Look at this when I typed it. It isn't equation, it isn't P. This should now say C. So make sure that, well, you've got your workbook. But look, I'm just going to cross that out. That looks yucky now. So C, which is our second column, is equal to our constant of proportionality, which is 3.14, times the first column, which in this case is D. So we've got C equals 3.14D. Remember, that means to multiply the number next to the variable. Moving right along, we are told that a map of Colorado says that the scale is 1 inch to 20 miles, or 1 to 1,267,200. Are they the same? Well, we have to start breaking this down to see. We know that we've got 1 inch to 20 miles. Well, we know that in order to get from miles, that would go down to feet, which would then go down to inches. So we're going to start with 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. And you should also know, and if you don't, you can always look it up, that 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. So if I wanted to know how many inches was in that mile, I would multiply these two numbers together. 12 times 5,280. Again, feel free to use your calculator. It's silly to try and do that by hand. 12 times 5,280 would be 63,360. So again, that's inches, and that's equal to 1 mile. Now, I know this one has 20 miles, So that would mean that we'd take that 63,360 and multiply it times those 20 miles. Pull out those calculators, and you should find that's 1,267,200. Again, that's 20 miles in inches. So that's inches, and this just so happens to be the same, where there's, sorry about that, 1 to 1,267,200. Are they the same? Yes, they are the same. Yes, they are the same. And our proof is right here, how we work that out. That our last problem, we have a polygon on a grid, and the first thing it asks us to do is to draw a scale copy using a scale factor of 3. So we know a scale factor means we multiply each side times 3. So this first side is 2. So 2 times 3 is 6. So if I go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And going across is 2. Both of these are 2. So I'm going to go across 2 times 3, which is 6 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? Bottom down here is 6 as well. And I know a lot of you like to try to make yourself crazy by trying to figure out this on the angle, which don't do that to yourself. Just look at the distance from the center to the end. And that, again, is 2. So if I take this right here and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I know that my point has to be right here, and I connect those. Now, this is a sketch. Hopefully you're using a ruler. I don't have a way of using a ruler using this program. So yours hopefully looks far better than mine. I'm labeling this A. Okay. Next, another scale copy of the polygon. So it's this one where I started with a scale factor. Uh-oh, I missed something in here that should say a scale factor of 1/2. Sorry about 2 typos, but we caught them both. So a scale factor of 1/2. So that means half of each of these. So all of those are 2. So I know they're all going to be 1. So I've got 1, 1, and 1. Again, hopefully you're using a ruler. The distance is also half, so it's going right here, like this. And I'm to label this B, which I know is hard to see in there, but that really is a B. Yeah, that should make it better. Okay, now, is polygon A a scaled copy of polygon B? Well, since they both came from the original, the answer, of course, is yes. And now it asks, what's the scale factor from B to A? So in other words, how do I get from 1 to 6? 1 to 6. I know that 1 times 6 is 6. So therefore my scale factor is 6.